Hello friends. So in the part 2 of this lecture, we will be moving away from the discussion on different creep mechanism. So what essentially we have done is, we have identified different creep mechanism based on the variables stress and temperature. And for each of these creep mechanism, we have found a way to relate the creep rate to that of the stress and temperature. In the part 1 of this lecture, we saw there is a graphical way of representing which mechanism would be operational for a given combination of stress and temperature, and this we refer to it as the Ashby's deformation map. And from that map, having known the characteristic relation for each of the creep mechanism, one can then calculate the creep rate the material experiences for a given combination of stress and temperature. So for a given combination of stress and temperature, one can know the creep mechanism that is operational, and since each creep mechanism has a characteristic relation that relates the stress, temperature and the creep rate, one can also calculate thereby the creep rate of the material under this combination of stress and temperature from the deformation map. Now it is important to note that whenever we talked about the creep rate in the context of the creep mechanisms, we largely focused on that of a particular stage of the creep. So that is the steady state stage of the creep. So all the expressions that we derived for the different creep mechanism, they all focus largely on, or they all exclusively talk about the steady state creep. On all the rates that we or the rate expressions that we derived for the different creep mechanism, they talk about the steady state creep rate. They do not talk about the any other creep rate. The reason we exclusively focused on the steady state creep rate is because when you consider the strain versus time plot and a representative creep curve that looks something like this, then the major portion of this creep, it belongs to the steady state condition. So the major portion of a representative creep curve, when you have the combination of the average stress and the average temperature, the major portion of it belongs to the steady state condition. So what this means in practical terms or from the application point of view is that, supposing you have a material that is operating under a combination of, say, stress sigma 1 and temperature T1. So under this condition, supposing the life of the material is represented by Tf. So this represents the life of the material for this condition of sigma 1 and T1, and after Tf the material fails. So under such a condition, this life of the material would constitute of different stages. For this condition, the life of the material, this Tf, would constitute of different stages. So there will be the initial stage, the first stage, that is the transient and the instantaneous stage. There will be the second stage, which is the steady state stage, and there will be the third stage, which is the tertiary stage or the accelerating creep stage. So for a given combination of temperature that is higher than the room temperature and a stress, the life of the material, the duration of the life of the material will comprise of 3 stages, and there will be time taken for each of these stages. So the first stage, the time taken by the first stage is referred by T1, the time taken by the second stage is referred to by the T2, and the time taken by the third stage is referred to as the T3. Now, based on our understanding of the creep behavior, we can reasonably state that both time taken by the stage 1 and time taken by the stage 3 is less than that of the times taken by the stage 2. So based on our understanding of the creep behavior or the normalized or the representative creep plot which is shown here, we can say that the time taken or the life of the material largely comprises of the stage 2. So when you talk about a life of material in a given application that has a combination of temperature T1 that is greater than that of the ambient temperature and a given stress 1, the material spends most of its life in the stage 2 or the steady state stage. So the material in an application when the temperature is higher than that of the ambient temperature, spends most of its life in the steady state condition. And that is the reason why we focus largely on understanding the creep rate under this steady state condition. Since a material in an application, when the application is an high temperature application and the temperature is more than that of the ambient temperature, when the material is operating under such a condition, the life of the material largely comprises of the steady state stage. The time it spends is mostly on the steady state condition, and therefore whatever expressions we derived for different creep mechanism, that was related to that of the steady state creep rate. Now we want to shift our focus. Instead of focusing on the life of the material under a given combination of stress and temperature, we want to focus on the deformation of the material. So what is the visible deformation of the material in that application? So if you want to shift the focus from the life of the material, because from the life of the material we are pretty sure that, based on our understanding of creep, we are sure that the most of the time the material spends in the steady state condition. Now from the focus on the life of the material, we want to shift it to the deformation that is experienced by the material. Then let's see which stage plays a dominant role. Now we are shifting our focus from life to the deformation of the material. Then in that case, let's see which stage plays a dominant role. So for that, let us consider as usual the representative creep curve. So this be the representative creep curve. We have your strain and time. Now we saw there is a linear line here that forms the instantaneous creep. So this segment here, or this section here, is the instantaneous creep. And since the time taken for the instantaneous creep is very much less than the overall time taken for the creep, there are ways of representing the creep behavior wherein this instantaneous creep is ignored. So let us consider such a plot. So it is reasonable to assume that the instantaneous creep or the instantaneous deformation of the material, or the time taken for the instantaneous deformation of the material, is very much less than that of the overall creep behavior of the material. So one can ignore that. And if you ignore that and plot the representative creep curve, so it should look something like this. Rather, something like this. So till here you have stage 1, here you have stage 2, and here you have stage 3. Now like Andre, which who we considered previously when you want to arrive at an expression for the overall creep behavior, he ignored this part or this stage of the creep because this ultimately leads to the failure and it happens quite fast. So he ignored this part of the creep, and once we have this ultimately leads to the failure and the rate is quite fast. So we can't ignore this part of the creep. So initially we ignored the instantaneous creep because of the time, and the similar consideration can be offered to this particular tertiary creep because it ultimately leads to the failure. So there are two stages that are important or critical for us. That is the stage 1, which is the transient stage. The other is the steady state stage. So the steady state stage by definition is characterized by minimal change in the strain. So the steady state stage of creep, the very definition of it, or the way you would distinguish the steady state stage, is there is a minimal strain, or there is just a minimal change in the longitudinal dimension or the dimension of the material, and therefore whatever strain we observe in the material during its creep behavior is brought about by the transient creep. So whatever deformation that we observe in or during the creep behavior of the material or at high temperature is brought about by the transient creep. So if you can see here when we plot, so this is the strain that is brought about by the transient creep, and this is the strain if you plot it here. So this is the strain that is brought about by the steady state creep. So when you compare the strain that is brought about by the transient creep to that of the strain that is brought about by the steady state creep, so if you write this as the strain that is brought about by the transient creep and compare it to the strain that is brought about by the steady state creep, then of course the strain that is brought about by the transient creep will be higher, because by definition we have defined the steady state condition as a region wherein the strain is minimal. So under such condition, when you talk about the overall creep behavior of the material in terms of stress or in terms of strain, then the change in the dimension or the deformation experienced by the material is largely due to that of the transient creep. And therefore, when you shift your focus from understanding the creep behavior from the point of the life of the material to the deformation of the material, then the focus should be on the transient creep stage rather than the steady state creep stage. So when your focus is on the life of the material, the overall duration which the material spends under the combination of stress and temperature, then we rightly focused on the steady state condition. However, when you want to focus on how much the material deforms during this particular combination of temperature and stress, then our focus must be confined to that, or our focus must be largely on the transient stage or the first stage, because as you can see here, it is the first stage that offers the significant amount of strain to the material. Now, this transient creep, because of its role on the bringing about the strain in the material, we are focusing it and we want to understand the rate at which this particular the creep occurs in this transient region. So because of the strain introduced by it, we want to see how much of or at which rate the strain is introduced in this region. So before looking into that, we will see that this transient creep region can be, or this transient creep can be distinguished into two. So one is the low temperature transient creep, the other is the high temperature transient creep. Now the reason we are distinguishing it into low temperature transient and the high temperature transient is because in the previous case we saw that depending on the combination of stress and temperature, the mechanism that operates during a creep behavior varies. So essentially what we are doing is we are changing the parameters that we assume to be constant in a creep testing, and we are changing it and we are identifying different mechanisms that are operational. Now when you do the same for, and all these we have been focusing on the steady state strain or steady state creep or steady state condition. If you do the same for the transient creep, then it gives you two different sections of the creep, or it gives you two different behaviors, and one is referred to as the low temperature transient creep. So this should be a temperature, and this would be high temperature transient creep. Now the reason why the temperature is largely focused here, because if you could recollect, it is the stress that is largely operational in the transient region. The role of the temperature eventually kicks in, but in the initial stage it is the role of the stress that is active in the transient region. So irrespective of the values of stress you consider, either it be relatively average or either it be relatively low or relatively high, whatever may be the choice of your stress, it is going to be dominant in the transient creep region. However, what we have to consider is the role of the temperature. So this would vary depending on the temperature you assume, and therefore instead of having low stress, low temperature transient region or transient creep, high stress, high temperature transient region or transient creep, we have just low temperature creep and high temperature creep. This is because we want to, whatever stress you consider, the role of the stress will be dominant in the transient region, and only the role of the temperature would vary depending on your magnitude of it. So that is the reason why we have low temperature transient creep and the high temperature transient creep. So in the subsequent lecture, we will see how the rate of this transient creep can be characteristically expressed for this different low temperature transient and the high temperature transient. So from the next lecture, we will try to arrive at or we will try to express the creep rate under the different transient creep, the low temperature and the high temperature. So in this lecture, all we have seen is When you shift our focus from the overall life of the material under a given combination of stress and temperature, we move away from the steady state condition, and when you want to focus on the strain exhibited by the material during this creep behavior, we move to the transient creep. And in the transient creep, we have low temperature transient creep and the high temperature transient creep, because in either case, the stress is going to play a dominant role. So based on this introduction, we will build on and see the different transient creep in the subsequent lecture. So we'll see ourselves in the next lecture, where we will be discussing about the different transient creep. Bye.